your life.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that the point? Isn't that what it means to be principled? Is to apply it to everything?
I don't know, man.
I mean, if it's warranted, obviously.
I don't think you should put peanut butter on everything, brother. I don't think peanut butter goes on pizza.
That's what I said. I clarified. I said if it's warranted, obviously you're not going to talk about the difference between a cover 2 and a cover 3 defense and apply it to every area of your life. That has a lot more.
You want to start going into
that has a lot more
things that we actually know?
Specific focus.
I like a Tampa 2 myself. However, but if you want to cover 2, I mean.
However, it.
I like to apply...
The nap is broadly applicable.
I like to apply the nap to every afternoon, right around 3 or 4.
Don't we all? All right, I am resolved today.
Oh, you're resolved? You're in a math equation?
I am resolved to keep you...
Oh, to keep me...
Less
succinct.
Verbose
More
today.
succinct.
More succinct.
Less verbose.
Less verbose.
I should stop using as many words as I know to just fill these fuckers' ears.
Yes.
With just meaningless dribble, trying to impress them with my fucking vocabulary.
Yes. Yes, you should.
Ergo! Vis-a-vis!
Yes. So with that said...
No, let's say that.
We're just... I mean, I think...
let's dive.
Let's dive.
Are we going high dive, or are we warming up on the...
Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction episode.
Yeah, what episode is it?
Number 14.
Oh, fuck.
See, I know stuff.
I fucking told him off camera. And there is no camera.
WMDpodcast.com
Hold on, I'm arguing with our mutual friend.
Try them both, see which one works.
I'm arguing with my mutual friend who's so stoked that they won the FA Cup today. He's talking shit.
What a loser.
He's talking shit. He's
Tell him to shut it. Nobody cares.
The exact same argument for Chelsea. Ooh.
All right, so that's how much David cares about this podcast. He's, just texting about soccer.
Wait, hold on. We're doing a podcast? Midstream. I thought we were just talking into microphones for no reason at all.
WMDpodcast.com / whichever one it is. I don't know.
It's 14.
14. I know the number. I don't know the difference between a backslash and a / I think it's forward. I think forward is the one.
You have to press shift to get the /.
Whatever.
No one does forward slashes.
14.
It's 2000.
That's what this is.
This is 2020.
Go there to comment on what we talk about and to check the show notes page. All that good stuff. You've heard it before. If you've been here for 13 episodes, you know the drill. So today's meme.
Oh my God, it sounded like a marriage right there. All right, you know the drill. Just get down there.
Assume the position, honey.
That's my use of foreplay is Evie, brace yourself.
Today's
here it comes. Hold on to something heavy.
Today's meme is everybody that disagrees with me is a Nazi.
That's fair.
I don't know. This isn't a long-standing meme.
It seems to be the go-to move. It's the audible for both sides. It's like,
it is now. Can you pinpoint a rough area in time when this started? I can't. I mean, it's got to be within the last 10 years, but I don't know.
There's always been not. I think predominantly growing up, I think most of the
we're millennials, by the way. So these Gen Zers that are fresh out of high school and fresh out of college,
a little bit better. Gen Zers.
There
we go.
The generation after the millennials.
Correct.
They like to mock us and whatever.
Okay, boomer.
They don't know stuff.
Anywho,
they don't know about this.
Can I finish my thought?
Yes, go ahead.
Fucking fuck's sake.
Sorry, go ahead.
I believe
earmuffs.
Yeah. I believe that the predominancy of the antagonists in the movies that we were growing up that were put forth to us were Nazi-ish, if not Germanly based.
Oh yeah, they were the archetype of the bad person. Right.
Like Indiana Jones, the Temple of the Lost Ark,
right.
all that that shit. So I would say,
well, you're gonna have to name more than one. Because when you just name one, it's like
that's the only one that I remember, like them just wearing Nazi attire and like their faces melting off.
Other media,
like
Call of Duty had Nazi zombies.
Of course, you were always fighting World War II because it was the last great war where we knew the side that we were on and why we were on it, and so on.
A lot of World War II epics, both series and movies.
I think it's the only and then there's a reason to that too, because I think it was the most definitive, and like we knew we were on the right side because they were doing all this other shit.
Of course.
And they bombed us. We didn't jump in. It was like
they didn't. That was the Japanese. But
we understand. We understand that they were part of the Axis. All right, the Axis of Evil.
Axis of Evil was the George W. Bush thing.
I know that.
All right, moving on.
What it was the Allied powers and
they were the Axis powers.
Yeah,
yes,
the Axis powers.
The Axis of
I
Evil.
added the evil. Fuck, man.
Okay.
Of course, George Bush knew how to fucking throw a little pep on it. He had to put a little pep on it. It couldn't be the Axis powers again. It's like, you're ripping that off from WW2. Plagiarist. He's a plagiarist. Anyway, moving on. It was like the most marketable thing because we were on the good side and everybody else is on the bad side. In Vietnam, the lines were blurred because we were trying to stop communism, but we were bombing innocents. And then Korea was like, we're trying to stop communism. And then the Cold War, you get like, you could just have two people staring at each other for a fucking long time.
Yes.
Like it's marketable. It's marketing. It's marketing.
What I think David is trying to get to the point, and
which means that it molded our culture to think that Nazis are just the universal bad guys.
Yes.
So all you have to, and then tracking back to our just before episode, callback 13, labels. Once you label something as something, now you identify it as that, and therefore.
Well, and I just want to clarify the reason why I talked about Gen Zers not necessarily being up with the times yet. And after
they'll get there
is this is the reason why millennials and the generations before will use this as an example, because yes, the archetype of the evil and also calling back to episode 13, I believe I referenced the concept of Manichaeanism and applied it to where I heard a very good podcast topic on this, the Dangerous History podcast, which you should definitely go listen to. This whole good versus evil concept. And for our generation and the generations that came before, that's what it's always been. Now, and again, obviously Gen Zers know how bad Nazis were and stuff like that. But we're just using it as a proxy to describe the meme that exists in society now, which we think is, less than 10 years old, although we can't pinpoint a birth date yet. But the idea that, and you've probably heard this before thrown out in caricature, of everybody that disagrees with me is a Nazi, right? It's a way to shut down debate in a very Manichaean type way. It is, I am on the light side, you are on the dark side. If you deviate from my opinion by 2.3%, then you have included yourself on the dark side. Therefore, not only do I not have to listen to you or associate with you, I don't even have to address your arguments on your own terms in the way that you defined, whatever it is you're arguing. I don't have to do that, right? Because you are a Nazi. You're ex-anti-evil. You are not worthy of an honest hearing. You're not worthy of a thought-out, reasoned response.
Can we just call it what it is? It's a cop-out.
So that's the meme.
It's a cop-out.
Yeah. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. Even though the Gen Zers and after are not, were necessarily raised with the same, like I said, media context that we were and stuff like that, to really have this whole light versus dark thing thrown in their face. They still have it. Like it's in the culture. They still see it. And even though they might not say, well, no, they do, because this concept of, if you don't agree with me, you're a Nazi. It's happening. Like it's most prevalent on college campuses, which are dominated currently by Gen Zers.
Right. Well, and it's funny too, because it's being employed by the left to, every time fucking Trump does something wrong, they're like, well, that's what Hitler did when he was in control of the Nazis.
Godwin's law. You know what Godwin's law is?
refresh my memory.
That's what it is. I forget the guy. Obviously, his last name is Godwin. I forget his first name. But anyway, the law goes, especially on social media or the internet, any conversation.
Don't let me get distracted because I'm going to give the right their due to.
It's just a matter of time before the conversation reverts back to an analogy between the Nazis.
What's that? There's also what's the fucking.
I'm gonna.
There's a theatrical rule where if you show a gun in Act 1, then the gun absolutely has to go off in Act 2, which means that it's just if you show the dramatic effect, it absolutely has to resolve in the next, however many.
Well, moves.
and then again, to backtrack to the Republicans aren't exactly free and clear of this either, because now they're calling it everything that the Democrats are doing socialist or communist or something like that.
I'm not even going into left or right.
I'm giving the devil its due. Like, they're both guilty of it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just because they don't say Nazi doesn't mean that they're not using the same
right. Generally, in the abstract, what we're really talking about is the process of building and maintaining echo chambers.
And exactly, in echo chambers, there's never any growth.
It need not be left or right. Everybody engages in it to an extent. To the extent that you can avoid building an echo chamber or stepping out of your own, if you have built it, is, I would say, a net positive to society and to civil discourse.
Correct.
But I just wanted to, because I kind of butchered that Godwin's law definition. So per Wikipedia, it's called the rule of
Chekhov's rule. I'm sorry, the Chekhov's rule is what I refer to.
Do you have it pulled up to be able to read it? Or
yeah,
you just
I already remembered it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to say mine, and hopefully you'll have yours figured out by the time.
I know, I've got fat thumbs. I'm probably going to misspell it like 1,000 times.
So Godwin's law, the rule of Hitler analogies, is an internet adage asserting that as an online discussion grows longer, the probability of a comparison involving Nazis or Hitler approaches 1. And I think we've all seen this. If you spend enough time on, God forbid, Twitter or other social media platforms, you've seen, a heated debate go back and forth. And then at some point, somebody goes, "Oh yeah, you believe that? Nazis." And as if that, completely ends the whole discussion. Yes, go ahead with yours.
And I'm going to do the podcast equivalent of a mushroom stamp on Dane's forehead right here.
Did I disagree with you on
I think
this,
you did.
Okay,
it doesn't matter. I already said it. Okay, so it's called Chekhov's gun, and it's the principle. Okay, I'm just going to read it. It is a dramatic principle that states that every element in a story must be necessary and irrelevant elements must be removed. Elements should not appear to make false premises by never coming into play, which is exactly why if you show a gun, you can't just show a gun. It has to be used. It has to be applicable to the line. There you go.
Okay.
So that's it. That's the whole thing. I've got nothing else.
Sounds good. All right, let's get to the meme that actually was the.
Okay, so and then okay, here's the phrase. I had to look a little bit further. If in Act 1 you have a pistol hanging on the wall, then it must fire in the last act. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. It was in the next act. It's in the final act. Mic drop. But I'm not going to drop the mic because that's
I'm just going to leave it to David for how that ties in with the rest of the episode. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into the meme that was the genesis of this.
And we're only 15 minutes into this fucking.
Okay. So here's the meme. And this was a Twitter exchange between a couple people. You'll see it. Go to wmdpodcast.com /14. The meme will be posted there. So the first person states, one of the simplest ways to break out of an echo chamber is to follow some peeps you disagree with. My timeline is more interesting these days. Right. Sounds pretty innocuous. Nothing really offensive one way or another there.
That seemed very bland. I would not have even looked at that.
Right. I think most people would have skipped right on by.
We have to put a disclaimer after you read the next line because I know what's coming. I've read ahead in this particular chapter.
So, more or less, obviously what she's saying is, step out of your comfort zone. Right. Talk to some people who you might not immediately
challenge your viewpoints.
You might not immediately agree
challenge
with.
your viewpoints. See if they stand up.
Yeah. Much like the purpose and of this very podcast.
Very intelligent thinking.
The reply which amazingly got 49 likes and 5 retweets. I mean, any more than one is too many.
Skip to the main, brother.
Anyway, the reply to that is, what an interesting way to say that you love associating with Nazis. Now, as far as Godwin's Law, that's got to be a world record. I mean, that wasn't even, I mean, first of all, we know what is Twitter, 280 characters. And the first comment didn't even use her full 280, but not even using a full 280, and the next person automatically invokes the Nazis.
So to bring it back to Chekhov's gun, she didn't even show the gun in Act 1 and was already pew pew.
I think
skipped the first two acts.
To Chekhov's gun, the gun was fired from the shadows, which nobody ever even saw, and they're like, somebody's dead.
There's a magic bullet.
The Godwin's Law applicability, I think, is clear. But let me put it to you and tell us in the comments on this episode. Does this person who launched in with if you talk to people outside of your bubble, you're associating with Nazis, does that person sound like somebody who really wants to have any sort of discussion at all, let alone
again, it's like that lack of critical thinking.
Intellectually challenging one?
No, they just, again, echo chamber. It's the most fucking frustrating part of this whole time that we live in. And I don't know if we are going to go behind the scenes, but we were thinking about covering something else today on episode 14.
Let's not go behind the scenes.
I'm not going to say what it was, but it's just that the subject was so unattainably ethereal that there was no way we could broach it without stepping on a toe that we never even knew existed.
Right. And here's the thing.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
And so we deferred to this, which is just.
I mean, I did mean to interrupt, but I shouldn't.
Of course, but that's never stopped you before.
I'm stopping now. I'm turning over a new leaf.
Okay. So you're gonna beat me a little bit less nowadays.
Yes.
You're gonna be the good husband.
Yes.
Good. Anywho, I hope I didn't step on an imaginary toe there. Anywho,
who knows? So many toes.
There's so many toes, so little time. But it's just, it was so hard to broach that topic, but it was so charged that in this echo chamber society, there's no time to defend yourself. Like, even if we had broached said topic with every intention of being like open-minded and saying, listen, we don't know a fucking thing about what we're talking about, and we hope we're not stepping on anyone's toes, but this is our viewpoint. All that mitigating factor that we led up to our viewpoint would have been lost. It would have just been, boom, well, you are this. And that's exactly kind of what we're broaching here is an echo chamber. Like, if you can't come out of your own comfort zone to meet us halfway, nothing's ever going to move forward. If all you do is stay within your party lines, stay within your safe zone, nothing ever changes. And in fact, I would argue it starts sliding backwards. So the shit that you don't like happening on the other side is going to start happening more, and vice versa. Like, when you're just left to dwell within your own filth, it just gets filthier and filthier and filthier until you can actually step out of the zone and see what it's actually growing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like it made sense.
I think so. Well, what I was going to jump in.
But we are in the middle of a hurricane, so nothing ever makes sense.
Yeah. You know, these are times that try men's souls.
Listen, we forestall and braved all weather to come over here to record this podcast because we love.
Mid-episode, you might just hear a whoosh and then it's all over because we died in a hurricane and we did it for you. We did it for the memes.
That's high stakes podcasting. That's what we're into.
What I was gonna interrupt my co-host to say.
Don't tell me you forgot it. It looks like you're trying to backtrack. Do I have to fill in with an imaginary sponsor?
Yeah,
again?
Keep talking. I gotta think of what I was gonna say. This is why we should write stuff. Okay. We should write stuff down. I think
I feel like
we've been saying that for 13.
Because I'm just kind of
here it was. Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. So
everyone back up.
Yes. Not going to go into the topic that we discussed having today,
Correct.
But we're not going to for obvious reasons.
Might happen later. Might.
But here's the sad thing about this mentality, this meme that's in society of, if you don't agree with me, you're a Nazi kind of thing. You know, this kind of shut down debate, Manichaean, light versus dark. I'm on the light side, you're on the dark side, don't have to talk to you kind of thing. Is that I would hope that after 13 episodes, you know, our most loyal fan base that's listened to all 13, thank you, Mom.
I can't even guarantee my mom's listening at this point.
I
can't believe I raised a son that would talk like that.
You've heard us talk several times about the non-aggression principle. You've heard us talk about, you know, a very kind of ecumenical worldview that we have of that, you know what, live your life as long as you're not aggressing on somebody else. We don't really care. We don't want to impose our world on you. Don't impose yours on us, that kind of thing, right? So you would think that two people with that kind of worldview would be able to broach any of these topics, and somebody who listened to us talk about these kind of things would be like, you know, I understand kind of where they're coming from. I may not agree with their conclusions or even challenge some of their premises, but the point is that, you know, they're not trying to force their worldview on anybody, and they just want to have a discussion, and they're not racists and bigots and all these kind of things. You know, anybody that listened to the first 13 episodes hopefully has come to that conclusion by now. But as we were talking about what we were going to do for today's episode, you know, as we've kind of alluded to, we've decided to nix that subject for just exactly
By the way, there weren't
this
just
type
one.
of reason.
It was two. There were two subjects.
Because even though we've spent 13 episodes and however many hours of actual audio recording that is,
which is a drop in the bucket comparatively to a lot of other podcasts, obviously. But and even those podcasts are fucking scared to broach these topics.
Repeatedly laid out, you know, that we're trying to have a discussion on these topics. We're trying to build a more civil society. We're trying to, you know, be reasonable and hear the other side out.
And we also realize that we're two fucking idiots that are sitting in a room.
Is that
trying to view the life?
Even after all of that, if we talked about these two topics just because of, you know, the fact that we were born with a certain skin color, or the fact that we identify as the gender we were born with, or the fact that, you know, all of these other different things, you know, there's a myriad of things that somebody could look at David and I and be like, you know what, you fit into X, Y, and Z categories, so you don't get a say on topics A, B, and C. And that's a sad world to live in. And it stems from this meme. It stems from, you're not like me. You don't think like me. The diversity that I claim, again, this is from the, you know, everybody disagrees with me as a Nazi side. You know, they say diversity, diversity, diversity. You know, we want all this diversity, right? But diversity of opinion, diversity of ideology, that doesn't factor in.
Well, here's the whole thing too.
And that's the meme that we hope to destroy with this episode. Which backtracks to our last
episode, is that all the way up until this time period, you used to be able to label yourself. If you were going to be labeled, you would label yourself. I mean, while we were growing up. And now labels can just be bestowed upon you, and that's never a good thing. Like, you used to have to be like, David, what's his fucking, not David, it's not David Icke, it's David...
David Icke is the guy that's all about, you know, lizard people running the world.
Okay, David Icke's the crazy motherfucker.
I wouldn't say. Listen,
again.
I wouldn't be so dismissive.
Who's the other David?
Again, I'm gonna say. People are gonna hear me say I wouldn't be so dismissive of David Icke and be like, oh my god, he thinks lizard people are running.
Well, I mean, fuck, Alex Jones. He's crazier than he's nuttier than squirrel turds.
Here's what I'll say.
He's been right about a couple of things too.
Alex Jones has been beating the pedophilia drum for years.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey Epstein happens, and now it's like, huh. A lot of interesting names on that flight manifest.
Not to say that we're totally Alex Jones drummers and David Icke drummers, but we're just saying
that's all anybody's going to hear when they listen to this episode. Of course,
but open-mindedness, like maybe if they're shouting about it for long enough, do your own research. Maybe not Pizzagate, but it might be something a little less aggressive than Pizzagate. Anywho, I was talking about the Ku Klux Klan Grandmaster, the David...
Oh, what the fuck's his name?
Anyway,
I'll think of it.
He clearly denotes himself as a white supremacist.
He just got banned from Twitter, whatever the fuck.
Right. So like you
David
used to
Duke.
have David Duke. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh God, a double. He's a fucking alliteration.
He's one of those.
Never good.
What's that movie where it's like never trust a guy with two first names?
Exactly. That was me, dude. I never trust anybody with two first names.
That wasn't in a movie?
No, that was me. I've been telling you that for fucking years. Like I never trust a dude the same.
You should star in a movie and put that.
I've been trying. Nobody will cast me.
Never trust a guy with two first names.
Face for radio. But anyway, that's my whole point. Is that like, if you have two first names, you should just be burned at the stake. That's the only label that I'll put on.
Yikes, bro. I think that might violate the non-aggression principle.
I don't care.
We have a friend. I'm not going to say his name. His first name starts with a T and his last name starts with a T. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Very cool guy. Used to train with us. Got a nice little family.
Who? Hold on.
He's got two first names.
But I would argue.
And he's a good guy.
That
you want to burn our boy at the stake like that?
That his second name is effeminate and his first name is masculine.
No.
I would argue that.
The second name is gender neutral.
I don't know about that one.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's
not Morgan.
Regardless, it can be two first names.
It can be.
Can it be or can it not be?
There are exceptions that prove the rule.
For
everything,
two first
there's
names,
exceptions that prove the rule.
Listen, I'm just saying we ain't down with that, and the non-aggression principle ain't down with that.
If Brian Michaels calls in,
no, Michaels ain't a first name. Michael.
It's Brian close enough. You just put one fucking extra letter in there.
No, there ain't no close enough.
I'm onto you. All right, George Michaels.
Your stance was very specific.
Or Michael George.
Your stance was
if your last name is Eddie George,
your stance
can't trust you.
Your stance was very Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
I'd rather be Atlantic.
You said
Pacific Ocean.
Two first names, burn them at the stake. That seems drastic. We might have some two first name memes who are like, do these guys want to burn me at the stake? No.
I'm coming for you.
We don't. But David Duke's not a cool guy.
No, he's
not cool at all.
He's an alliteration and a first. He's a double burn at the stake.
Okay. Anyway,
but then tracking back to our other friend, he's an alliteration too. So holy fuck.
Speaking of tracking back, can we track back to the topic of this episode?
We need to kill our friend. Yeah, that's what the topic of the episode is.
I hope that our friend with two T's.
Yeah, you better fucking armor up because we're coming for you and we're coming hard.
Knows that we love him and would never harm him or his family.
Perfect, Dane. Get him to lull himself to sleep. Yeah, we never harm you.
Anywho, all right, we'll that's the meme. Don't do this. Just don't. Again, there might be some self-selection bias here too. I understand the people that are going to have listened to us for 13 episodes, be on number 14, or listen to this one and actually continue on, probably doesn't have this type
David
of
Duke
cancel
was like
culture
our most
mindset.
Avid supporter.
Jesus Christ, man.
That would suck.
I mean,
but at the same
care.
time, like, moving product, I guess. Fucking capitalism.
Listen, we ain't supporting any of his causes, so who cares?
I don't either.
That's a whole nother topic for another day. The fact that, and I just want to put a pin in it because we will get to it at some point, but not today.
Mark the pin down because
we're 30 minutes in. If somebody supports you for their own reasons, whatever their reasons are, that says nada about you and your reasons. Listen to the reasons of the individual.
I hear Charles Manson's like the Beatles.
I would think.
Can't listen to them anymore.
I would think that somebody who listened to two people talk on and on and on to the point of, their listeners' eardrums bleeding about the non-aggression principle would come away with the idea of, maybe if my ideology conflicts with the idea of not inflicting violence or force or fraud on innocent people, maybe those two things aren't compatible. If you can't square those two things in your head, that's on you, bruh.
Hey, bruh.
That's on you.
That's you, bruh.
That ain't us.
Was that?
So
can he take that out?
I don't know. Who cares? It's not. It's not on the table.
It's fucking professionalism.
You probably can't hear. You know what? If it didn't get picked up on the mic, now we're talking about something the memes have never even heard, and they're like, "What are these guys talking about?"
And it'll be mystery.
That's probably
Easter egg.
About
Guess what it is?
Anywho, point
You
is,
said memes a lot today.
meme destroyed. Sure? I don't know. I guess they'll tell us in the comments if they hate that name and they want a different one. Don't do this. And again, to David's point, he wanted to point out, and I'm going to let him now, even though we're in the waning hours of this episode, he wanted to say, this isn't just a left thing. You know, maybe the right does this a little bit too with like commies or whatever the case may be.
They always do it.
Don't just automatically shut somebody down by saying, well, you disagree with me, you're a Nazi, or you disagree with me, you're a
fucking
commie.
idea.
Hear them out on their own terms.
Here's
refute them on their own terms.
Meet with them on the terms of you're both humans and you're both flawed and you're both wrong about a lot of shit. So let's have a conversation and let's try to figure out the shit that we're wrong about together.
Yeah.
Boom.
Problem solved. Meme destroyed.
Don't have to worry about it. Hey, Dane, if I was really wanting to listen to this back, where would I look? Where would I scrounge?
You definitely want to hit up wmdpodcast.com /
But
14.
let's say my thumbs are broken and I can't type that many letters. Where can I find this podcast elsewhere?
All your podcast catchers. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it on...
Grab a butterfly net.
I have Podcast Addict.
Grab a butterfly net and just run out into the open area and just swing it, and you might catch an episode or 3.
You might. Or 47. Listen to all the episodes multiple times and share them with friends and family. That is what we find is the best way to really ingrain
all the episodes multiple times.
All the meme destroying.
We can't even listen to our own episodes multiple times.
Of course we do.
Of course we do.
What are you talking about?
Yep. Quality control.
We love listening to our.
We got quality controls.
Hearing ourselves talk.
Well, you can't say that because now it sounds like we're in love with ourselves.
Okay, wmdpodcast.com / 14. Drop us a note. Check out the show notes. Say hi. Join our email list. Get in the community.
Enjoy a little metal in your life.
Love us like we love you.
Here it comes.
Speaking of which,
open your mouth.